Hey everybody. Welcome. Wow. Welcome. Where was I? Nina Gerber, Gaylene Elliot, joining our brother, David McNair. He is old.
My name is David Stevens McNair, and I was born in the year 1946 in North Hollywood, California. Wait, that looks like Blair Hardman over there. Blair Hardman made a record with Country Joe McDonald. Country Joe is a rock god. That means that Blair Hardman is a most high archangel. And I can feel those Paisley vibes coming over me now. It feels like 1960. It feels like 1967 and I feel young again. It feels like the old days. Shazam! Peace and love, brothers and sisters. Anybody got any spare change? You want to buy some acid? My brother's friend knows somebody that might have some. If you give me your car keys and some money, I wait here and I'll come back with it. Shazam! Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today in the sight of God and with this company as witness. Because I have been wondering. You know, when I was a kid, I used to wonder about everything. When you're a kid, everything's brand new for the first time. And everything adults do is a mystery. It's hard to figure out. So it's all trial and error. In the 1950s San Fernando Valley, where I grew up, it was really protected. So I had to wonder and imagine what everything was going to be like. Now, in my 20s, I started having too much fun to wonder about anything. I was in the middle of it, and then most of us get into our 30s and 40s, and we're trying to slow down, get organized. Some people raising a family, others trying to figure out what am I doing in life and lock into a career. In your 50s, you're just trying to hold on. Maybe the only thing you wonder about is how am I going to pay these bills? And now in my late 60s, I'm wondering again. And one of the things I'm wondering about is my parents. I knew them really well. They were mom and dad. I was sure I knew them. But now, I'm not so sure. What was it like when they were teenagers? What was it like when they were in their 20s and in love? What was it like when they were starting out? What was their triumphs? What were their tragedies? What were their dreams? I saw my son's mother crying one time, and I said, well, my mother didn't cry. And she looked at me and she said, you just never saw her. And I thought, boy, is she lame. After my mother died, we found her poetry book, and one of her short little poems that she wrote was, soon I will reach the top. No one will ever know how many times I stopped to cry along the way. Wow. So I wondered about my dad. What kind of dreams did he give up to provide for 5 kids? I'm sure he did not want to go to work every day. I'm convinced of that. Who does? What were his successes and what were his failures and what was he bummed out about? What was he mad about? And then my grandparents, my dad's parents, the only thing I know about them, they were Florence and Walter. I don't remember anything about Florence except her house was next to the railroad tracks and we snuck out the gate one time and put a penny on the tracks to see it squashed. And she had a dripping faucet with a cistern full of pollywogs. Only thing I remember about her, don't remember what she looked like. And I knew my grandpa Walter had a drugstore in Cochran, California, one of the old-fashioned ones with a soda fountain in it. My dad took me there when I was 6, 7, and my grandfather gave me a flashlight. And that might have been what started it for me, because I love flashlights. I just love flashlights. And the only other thing I remember about Grandpa Walter was shortly before he died, he was visiting our house. And my brother and I had this little room with a little tiny bathroom at the end of it, toilet, sink, shower. I'm probably 9 years old, and I walk in, and it looks like a drunken bodybuilder took one of those giant 1-gallon things of Hershey syrup from Costco, those squirt bottles, and went into the bathroom and went, whoa, whoa. There's brown streaks all over the walls, up even on the ceiling, the floors, the counters, and then I smelled it. It was poop. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before beyond my wildest imagination. Just traumatized and just frozen. It's like, I backed out and I shut the door and I opened it back up again because it couldn't be real. And it was. I slammed the door, Mom! Running down the stairs. I couldn't imagine what you could do about this. I thought they might have to burn the house down or maybe rip out the bathroom and start all over again. I was just traumatized. I found my little brother, Kenty, don't go in there. Kenty, don't go in there. And a few hours later, I stuck my head back in. It was all gone. It's like the Twilight Zone when the body disappeared and the blood disappeared off the carpet, and you're going, am I crazy or what? Just one of the many miracles my mother performed. And just a couple of years ago, I found out from my older sisters that my grandfather had colon cancer and had a colostomy bag, and that's what it was. I've never wanted to know since, never wanted to ask, never wanted to go there. And so this day comes about because I don't want the people that come after me to wonder what was crazy grandpa like, what was crazy great Uncle David like. I want to leave something behind more than poop on the walls. And I'm looking out and I see, I will probably cry a lot, so sometimes it sounds like I'm laughing, but I cover it up. I'm crying really. I'm looking out and I see my kids, Corey, Eve, and Annie, my grandchildren, Tiasha, Sasha, seeing my nieces and nephews, David, and Christopher, and Cameron, and Ashley, Scott, Marky, seeing my great nieces and nephews, great niece, Natasha, Miranda, Emma, Sophia. I'm leaving somebody out. Tyler, great niece, Aria, Garen, Logan. And I'm seeing all you people in front of me, and we have this marvelous technology now, so I can leave something behind for those that come after. Now a warning. My musical format is really rough. I never have wanted to be and am non-professional musician. I don't have the temperament, I don't have the discipline, I don't have the talent. And commercial musicians always say, your songs are just not commercial, they're too simple or they're too long. Well, my heroes were T.S. Eliot, Lou Reed, and Bob Dylan. And their stuff was all way too long. So I guess I ought to get it over with and confess about my love affair. And this love affair has defined a lot of my life. I'm about 10 years old and I got this old, worn out analog technology that nobody wanted anymore. It was a 78 record player. In the 40s they built things to last. Solid iron frame, solid wood about this high, about that big around. And the treasure inside that thing was an AM radio. My mother got this big chest and put it right next to my bed. And I was really fortunate because my brother on the bunk bed above me is one of those people that falls asleep in about 5 minutes or less. So I'd wait until his breathing slowed down. And I'd drag that thing up next to my bed. And I'd put my ear right on the speaker, turn it on really low. And when I went to bed, there were 2 shows on. The Lucky Logger Dance Time and your hit parade brought to you by Lucky Strike Cigarettes, LSMFT. Lucky Strike means more fine tobacco. I just loved hearing all those songs. Now I wish I could say that I learned how to sing in my dad's church in the choir. But the reality is I was asked not to be in the choir because I couldn't sing number 1 and 2. Number 2, the minister's son was disruptive to the other children. And then my older sisters said I sang like a frog. Thanks, girls. I love listening to the music. In the summers we'd go to the same place camping every year, and it was one of those old-fashioned resorts with activities in the evenings, and they had dances on Saturday night where they played records. I didn't dance, but I went for the music, and I heard Ray Charles for the first time. That first album I ever bought was What Did I Say? Ray Charles and the Ray Lads. Ooh, ooh, my white bread mind was just like blown away. And then on Fridays they had a big campfire, and for a few years there was a guy who would sit around the campfire, play his guitar and sing songs. Wow. I never wanted to be Ray Charles, but I wanted to be the guy on the campfire with a guitar. And I got into the early folk music scene that was happening in the early 60s. You know, first it was the White Bread stuff, you know, Kingston Trio, Peter, Paul and Mary, Bud and Travis, and then the more serious folkies, Ian and Sylvia out of Canada, Corner Ray and Rover, whoo, Josh White, Odetta. And then I hustled some rides, so I was down in LA to the Ash Grove and the Troubadour, the folk clubs, and I heard Dave Van Ronk and Hoyt Axton and Jim Queskin and the Jug Band, and they were way too far out for me. Then, in my senior year in high school, there was this really old guy. He was about 23, and he was a teaching assistant working on his PhD. And I used to talk music with him, and one day he comes up to me and he goes, "McNair, I'm going to turn you on to the real shit." And he gave me Jimmy Reed. And I went in and I put that thing on my little hi-fi. They weren't stereos or record players. I had a hi-fi. I had a Dynakit amp I built from a kit. Had a Gerard changer with a high-end cartridge and a really cool speaker I bought off a guy that was upgraded. And I put on Jimmy Reed and I turned it up.